Hello and welcome everybody to another Thursday evening program with the Genealogy Center. I hope all of you brought some questions. I know you probably have for our Ask the Expert session on DNA. So my colleague Sara Allen will be trying to answer some of your questions about DNA. She will do a brief kind of lay of the land type introduction thing, and then just take questions and tell you a little bit about my colleague Sara Allen. So she began researching her family history when she was 11 years old. Using the Genealogy Center, she is our in-house DNA expert. She's been doing DNA research for genealogy since before it was trendy, before it became really popular. So she knows her stuff. So I'm very excited for Sara to do kind of this Q&A session with all of us. So, Sara, would you like to reappear?
Hello.
Hello.
All right. Well, as Elizabeth said, tonight we're going to take your questions and answers. I'm going to first show you my 23andMe account. So this is an autosomal testing company that's going to show me my ethnicity estimate, and it's going to show me DNA relative matches. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of an idea about how to look at this ethnicity estimate. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Beautiful.
All right, very good. Okay, so like I said, this is 23andMe, and this is the homepage. So if you go down here, you can get at it several ways. You can get at it through ancestry and traits up here. You can go to ancestry composition. That's what they call your ethnicity estimate. Or you can get at it down here to ancestry report. So if I go to this ancestry report, where's that going to take me? I think that's going to take me to the ancestry composition. Yeah. Okay. So you can see here my ethnicity estimate. And it's got summary across there, scientific details. That's going to be more like, as the name implies, scientific details about how they got to my ethnicity estimate, the background, the science behind it. And so if you want to read that, then you want to go to scientific details. You can see here. Let's see what it's going to say for us. Okay. So they go into a summary, how we match you to genetic groups, all 259 tested populations, and so forth. So let's circle back to that later and go back to the summary, which is out here. So the summary is the part I think that most people will look at. So you've got your map of the world here. And then you've got over to the left here, I've got the actual ethnicity estimate that they have given me. So they're saying that I'm 99.2% European. And this is actually the only company that gives me a non-European estimate at all. But 23andMe is very highly regarded. But on the other hand, it's less than 1%. So it's 0.8 basically percent of me is non-European. That's less than 1%. And it may be untraceable. It may be way far back in my tree, and it may not even be, maybe considered noise, is what some people would say. Some people would advise you not to get excited about something that's 1% or less, like just kind of think, oh, that's neat, but that may or may not be true. Basically, it's saying that I'm 81% Northwestern European, and I'm 11% Eastern European, and I'm about 2.6% Southern European. And then this broadly European, if you look at this, it just means they couldn't determine what exactly ethnicity this broadly European part was. So all of these you can click on and get more information. So if I want to learn more about Greek and Balkan, it'll come up here and it shows me where Greek and Balkan actually is. So they are considering Greek and Balkan, Greece, which is down here, which would make sense, but also Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, Bosnia, Croatia, all these places. Now, my family happens to be from Slovenia, so it's possible that some of my family members were actually from these other areas. Don't know. So they have a picture over here of Greek and Balkan. They have explore your Greek and Balkan heritage. And if I click on that, I'm going to get a whole kind of write-up about that, about the culture, about the geography. And I can listen to, let's see, I think I can listen to some language. I can learn about some celebrations and rituals, some food, and so forth, architecture. So this is all good. So if you want to really like delve into what your ethnicity estimate is telling you at any of the testing companies, that's what you want to do. You want to just click on things and open up new screens and read and learn about what they're trying to tell you. So if we go back, here's my non-European ancestry. It's under trace ancestry, and it says that I'm 0.4% North African, 0.2% West African, and 0.2% West Asian and North African. So again, these are very tiny amounts. I don't necessarily expect them to be, I have no idea where that would come from. So, and they tell you right here that it's called trace ancestry, and then they give you kind of an explanation of it. We detected traces of the following populations in your DNA. Read more about it in the FAQ. So if I go over here, if I click on this, see it's highlighted in blue. So I can go over here and do FAQ. And so it brings me to the FAQ. And what does it mean to have trace ancestry? So I can click on that, and it basically says small amounts of ancestry can mean different things for different people, and you may have to do some digging to learn what your trace ancestors mean for you. We report ancestry composition results as small as 0.1% because our algorithm does a really good job of estimating ancestry for each small piece of the genome. Your 0.1% ancestry is more likely to reflect a real genetic history if it is still assigned at the higher confidence levels. So they're telling me to go to chromosome painting, and then I can read more about it here if I want to read more. So lots of good stuff in the frequently asked questions as well. And each of the DNA testing companies has that for you, where you can learn more. Yeah.
There is a question about, is it beneficial to take a DNA test with like one company and then just uploading the raw DNA into these other websites? So like doing an ancestry test and then uploading to 23andMe and MyHeritage, or should you do separate tests?
Yeah, well, we can talk about that. It depends on what your goal is. Only MyHeritage and Family Tree DNA will allow you to upload. So 23andMe, you have to buy their test. If you're adopted and you're looking for your birth family, you probably want to get the test at all the companies and upload into all the companies, the 2 companies that you can upload into, especially if you're having trouble figuring out who your birth family is by testing at only one company. Like a lot of people will start with 23andMe or Ancestry, and then they're like, well, I can't find my birth family. And I'll be like, well, have you looked at the other companies? All it takes is one really close relative to test at one of the other companies, and that would get you the answers that maybe you were looking for. So yeah, I don't think as far as ethnicity estimate, well, that's not really, I don't know for sure if it would be more advantageous to take the test
Mhm.
or to just transfer the test. I've heard people say that transferring DNA into MyHeritage, that they've had some difficulties with some of the matching at the lower levels, that they're like, well, it's not matching me correctly with people or something like that. And they thought, some people have said that they wondered whether they should have tested directly at MyHeritage to see whether that would fix that glitch. I myself have not tested directly at MyHeritage. I just uploaded there. So I don't know about the pros and cons of that, but yeah.
Right. Kind of related to that, do you know if there's a way to compare Senate Morgans in one company with percentages in another company? The
Yeah, I was
person I'm
gonna,
helping.
I was gonna show that later.
Oh, okay, we'll get there.
Does anyone want to know anything about ethnicity?
Someone asked, can you explain how to see the confidence levels?
Yeah, that's here at MyHeritage, so I'll do that. All right, at 23andMe, I'll show that. Okay, so here at 23andMe, we do have confidence levels, and they were just talking about that. So I have to go back up to the top of the screen here. Let me see if I can get back there. Here we go. All right. If I go to Ancestry and Traits Overview, I believe that it's there. Okay. So it's called DNA painting right here. You can see that there on the middle right of your screen. This is going to show you your ethnicity painted on your chromosomes. And so they have taken my, 99.2% European, and they painted it on the chromosomes. And so if I hit on Northwest European, you can see that it's highlighting Northwest European on the chromosomes over there, and it's excluding the other DNA. If I hit on British Isles, it's highlighting the British Isles. So you can see exactly where on my chromosomes I'm British and Irish, exactly where on my chromosomes I'm French and German. Scandinavian, it looks like it's down there, and so forth. So this is where that is. Now, right here, it says change confidence level over on the right. And so right now, the view that I was just showing you is 50% confidence level. So that's speculative, is basically what 23andMe would say. So you can change it over here to 60, to 70, however you want it. I change it all the way to 90, which is conservative. And I go back down, and you can see that my North African is still there. It's on chromosome 6. It's 0.3% North African, and it's still there on the very conservative confidence level. And you can read more about the confidence levels at the 23andMe site also. Okay, so we answered that one.
I didn't know that was a thing. That was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
At some point, doesn't have to be this moment exactly, when you're talking about centimorgans, could you kind of do a crash course in what a centimorgan is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
There's, as you guys can imagine, there's so many aspects and layers to doing DNA. We're trying to make this be the most concise Q&A session, well, organized Q&A session we could possibly make, so we're not jumping around and everyone getting confused. So
okay. So somebody's asking about a way to compare CMs in one company with percentages at another company. I think what they mean is going to be addressed by DNA Painter. So hopefully this will address your question, Vicky. If not, we can circle back around. So this is DNApainter.com. This is a free website. At least some of the basic tools are free. There is a subscription side to this website, but you don't have to subscribe to it. So when we go down here, what you can do at DNA Painter, you want to figure out how you're related to a DNA match. So this is the one you want to do right here. You want to visit the shared centimorgan tool. And so the shared centimorgan tool is where you add the number of centimorgans that you're sharing with somebody. Let's say it's 100. And you can see the possibilities for that relationship. If you click on percentage there, it will convert between the two. So this is telling you that basically 100 centimorgans is 1.34% percentage. So this would be what 23andMe would tell you your relationship would be, and this is what Ancestry would tell you your centimorgans would be. So 23andMe always gives you percentages of how you're related to somebody, like you're 2% related to this person. So you would go here to the Shared Centimorgan Project and reset and do 2%. And it tells you that that equals basically 149 centimorgans. So it's kind of, it's going back and forth and toggling back and forth between the two for you. And then it's showing you the possible relationships that it could be. And you really need to read up on this. It's saying that 54% of the time it's going to be one of these relationships here. But that doesn't mean that these other relationships are not likely, because something could happen 23% of the time and it could be this relationship. You know, they're all, until you get down here to this 0.74% and this 0%, these are the ones that really are not possible at all. The 6% is less possible, but it's still possible. But these top three, all of these are really possible.
So in relation to this, you would say the DNA Painter would be a good tool to use for someone who has a DNA match of 87% with 1,151 centimorgans, and she's trying to figure out how they're related.
Yeah, I saw that. That was Mary that said that. So it's 1,000 what?
1,151.
I have it memorized, so I can probably tell you that that's either your first cousin or your half aunt or half uncle, half niece or half nephew, great aunt or uncle, great niece or nephew, or great grandchild. So it's really got to be one of these relationships, almost certainly. These others are really low level options. One way to further look into it is, I think I talked to Mary on the phone today, actually, and she mentioned that she was in her 60s or 70s. And so figuring out the age of the match will tell you something. If you can figure out, you know, the match is 50 years younger than you are, then you probably are looking at one of these that's the you know, several generations away from you. Great grandchild, great niece or nephew would be my guess.
Away as in like after you, not
Yeah,
behind you.
generationally, they're 1 to 2 generations, maybe even 3 generations younger than you are. If the match is approximately your same age, then you'd be more likely to think of them being a first cousin. But the other way to look at it is, hopefully, I don't know if Mary's situation, if Mary knows definitely who her father and her mother were, then she can see on her shared match list with this person whether they're matching her father's side or her mother's side. And that would help her as well to kind of limit the types of relationships it could really be. If Mary wants more help, she can email us,
Which I'll put that in the chat.
and I can try to help her figure it out. Yep. So DNA Painter, definitely want to use that. That's where you can put in all of these, either the centimorgans or the percentages, and get some possible relationships. It also shows you on a chart here, which I didn't pull down and show. If you're a more visual person, it shows you kind of on a relationship chart. Okay.
Since we're on the like shared centimorgan project, could you just explain what a centimorgan is? Just make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah. So the centimorgan is just the unit of measurement for DNA that they use. And so it's like, you know, inches are used for measurements of length. This is just the measurement for DNA. And they abbreviate it as CM. So if you ever see CM, that's the abbreviation for centimorgan. And obviously, well, not obviously, but the more centimorgans you share with somebody, the more likely you're to be closely related to them. So like we were just saying, this person that Mary shares 1151 centimorgans with is a close relative of hers. So you share about 3,600 centimorgans with your parent, and approximately 24, 26, 2,800 with a sibling, a full sibling.
Someone did point out that sometimes the relationships in DNA Painter are not always accurate for certain communities, like maybe the Jewish community, due to things like endogamy. I can't pronounce that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is mentioned here on DNA Painter. If you're on DNA Painter and you go over here to right there, assuming no pedigree collapse or endogamy, and that you're related only one way with a person, then this is accurate. But if you are from an endogamous population, it might be different. Yeah, I wouldn't think that this 1151 would be that far off for even an endogamous population. Endogamy will rear up and kind of be a problem down at the second, third, fourth cousin level mostly. But yeah, the Jewish population is endogamous, meaning that they had only
they marry within their community.
They only had a few people that started out, and they all married each other basically.
Amish, Mennonites,
Cajun,
right? Cajuns, yes.
French Canadians.
Yeah.
Those are some groups that were endogamous until quite recently. They're not so much today, but yeah. Okay, I see some questions about ethnicity now that we've kind of turned the corner and aren't talking about it anymore.
It always comes back to ethnicity, right?
All right, let's go back and like circle back to the ethnicity questions. We have Jill. My full brother and I have really different ethnicities reported at Family Tree DNA. Okay, so yeah, she says she and her brother share enough centimorgans to be full siblings, which I agree with her on that. She says this is at Family Tree DNA. He has 23% Southern European and I have 0. Is this real? Okay. Well, I would say, Jill, you know, what is your family tree? Do you have somebody in your tree that would be Southern European? Is that really off? Like, is your question that you have the Southern European and you're concerned, like, where did that come from? Or are you concerned that you and your brother don't have matching ethnicities? Because if you did have some Southern European relatives, then I would say just go with it. You inherited different DNA than brother did. Unless you and the brother, well, you're not twins. So you and the brother are just siblings, and basically you're going to share just part of your DNA. Let's see, if you share 2,500 with him, you share about 33% of your DNA with him, which means that there's 60 some percent that you do not share with him. So that's where the differences in the ethnicities is coming from, is that you don't have the same DNA from parents.
So to play devil's advocate, what if it's something like, so for example, I manage my dad and my aunt's DNA and ancestry DNA. It shows for, I believe my aunt, like a 7% Wales. Does not show it for my father. Now, Wales and England are really close. I just assume this is margin of error type stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, 7%, if it was like that much of a difference, is that questionable? I mean, I know that they're full siblings, but
no, I wouldn't even be worried about it. If your son of Morgan's is the right amount to be full siblings, then you are full siblings, and you just inherited different DNA from mom and dad. When you have something like, you know that you're from the British Isles, but basically I think all the groups in the British Isles are very closely genetically linked to each other. Yeah. And these companies are trying to distinguish between someone who is Scottish versus someone that's English. And I don't really think that the technology is quite there yet to do that.
I would like that in writing to send to my aunt, who almost at least once a month will send me an email saying, I keep seeing this Welsh percentage. Do you think this branch of the family, they're Welsh? I'm like, no, Wales is close to Bristol, which is where the Hodges family originated from before they went to Ireland. So I'm like, it's not exact, right? They're still working on it.
It's an ethnicity estimate. And I don't know, I personally don't know if they're ever going to be able to 100% be able to distinguish if you're from the British Isles. I personally don't think that they're ever going to be able to figure that out and say, oh yeah, and get it really accurate.
I think every person in the world would have to take a DNA test.
Yeah. And that, well, it still have to mean that there is measurable difference between a Scottish person and an English person that they can actually differentiate on their test. And I'm not certain. I haven't looked at, I don't work at those companies. I don't know how they're exactly doing it, but I'm suspecting that it is not very discernible right now. And that's why there's been so much volatility. You get the test done over here at this company and it says this amount, and then another company says this amount, and it's Now, so again, we don't know whether this lady who was talking, okay, so she re-answered and said she doesn't see any South European in her research yet. So the other thing I'm going to say, and this is a little controversial, is that when you talk to the DNA experts, they will say that Ancestry does a pretty good job with their ethnicity estimate, and 23andMe does. Family Tree DNA and MyHeritage have been known to be more off. So people will say, well, yeah, my MyHeritage ethnicity estimate just doesn't even resemble reality at all. And I think my MyHeritage estimate is a little bit wackier than some of my other estimates. So because you're talking about, Jill was talking about her family tree DNA ethnicity estimate, I would say if you've tested at another company, at Ancestry or at 23andMe, and they don't have that Southern European at all, and you can't find it in your tree, then I would just go with that. And I would say, I think family tree DNA is being a little wacky. And maybe it's just kind of not correct on that point.
MyHeritage has some wild stuff for my mother. It says like a high percentage of like Iberian Peninsula. I'm like, no, no.
Yeah, so
No.
if you've tested at all 4 of the companies, and I had a graphic of this, but I don't have it ready to load up to show you. I don't have it ready to share my screen tonight, but I have a graphic of all 4 of my ethnicity estimates from the 4 different companies, and they're different from each other. They're similar, but yet different. And so, and I think one or both of my parents have really kind of wacky MyHeritage and Family Tree DNA estimates. So if, like I said, if Ancestry and 23andMe are kind of in agreement about what your ethnicity is, then I wouldn't put too much stock into a Family Tree DNA or MyHeritage, kind of a little bit out there estimate.
So
Okay.
I will, just as a brief thing, so we did another DNA chat with Sarah that was explicitly on ethnicity estimates. I'm going to put a link to the video to that in the chat for
Yeah.
future education.
All right. So we do have somebody, yeah. So we have somebody saying that, that they found an NPE basically. So Cheryl is saying, my mom's 2 brothers did their DNA and one was 50% Italian, but the family was basically supposed to be Ashkenazi Jewish. So, yes, I think you're right, Cheryl, that you did find that one of the brothers had an Italian father and that he should have been, he should have come up as a half brother to his Jewish brother, basically. And if that's the designation of how much DNA that they shared, the 2 brothers, then they were half brothers. And you did find, through the ethnicity estimate that his father was Italian rather than the Ashkenazi Jewish father that he thought it was. So yes, that can absolutely happen. And when that happens, basically Ashkenazi Jewish cannot be mistaken for something else. So if you turn out to be Ashkenazi Jewish and you didn't think that you were supposed to be, then that is something to pay attention to. And then if you were supposed to be 100% Ashkenazi Jewish or 95% or whatever, and you're not, then pay attention to that also, because that is an indication that something in your tree is incorrect. That maybe your father wasn't your father, maybe your grandfather, one of your grandfathers wasn't really your biological grandfather. Yeah. Or there was an adoption that you don't know about, sperm donation. There's something's going on. Yeah.
Speaking of Ashkenazi Jewish, somebody asked if Ancestry DNA is able to differentiate between Ashkenazi and Sephardic. Do we know?
I don't think that they can. My understanding is that MyHeritage does. But I'd have to Google that because I'm not on top of that statistic. That was my understanding in the past. If Ancestry recently added it, then maybe they do have Sephardic, but I think it's MyHeritage that we'll be able to separate out Ashkenazi and Sephardic. Okay, so Catherine says, what about living DNA? So living DNA gives you county estimations. And so Catherine's saying she's got some county estimations, British county estimations on living DNA. No, living DNA, that's their whole thing, is that they're trying to break it down by county in England, and I believe in Ireland and Scotland and Wales. So I personally haven't tested there. I know people that are British, like they live over in Great Britain, and they say that living DNA was accurate for them to some degree with the counties. I know some other people that have tested there that are basically Americans, and they've been in this country for generations and generations and generations. And they got a county designation and they were kind of like, I don't know, so they didn't really know what county that they were from in England. They just knew that they had an English background from like 300 or 400 years ago. I would say
Do you
That
think
is,
maybe
yeah,
if,
read the Living DNA website and see what it is that they're trying to tell you. I think they're doing a, you know, that's one of the things that they're trying to do is get it broken out by county. So what were you going to say,
I
Elizabeth?
was gonna ask, so do you think maybe if you're, say you're Irish American, but your immigrant ancestor immigrated in, say, like 1916, it might be a little bit more
I
accurate
think it'd
because
be
it's
more
more
accurate.
recent?
Yeah, I think it'd be more accurate if
Hmm.
you have recent people.
I have to keep that in mind for my problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all you can really do is then, you know, do some traditional research, you know, if you can, to try to figure out what county in England or Ireland or wherever that your family came from. But yeah, that's Living DNA's thing. So definitely read their website and read up on what it is that they're promising to, like what they're saying that their site is telling you. So what's, you know, yeah. So just read that.
They're having a sale for anyone interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on.
Okay, then we have Matt who's talking about Scandinavian. Okay, let me read this for a second here. I have tested at Ancestry DNA as it has my mother and her father, my grandfather. We have no known Scandinavian ancestors on grandfather's side. Mom is 5% Swedish, grandpa is 8% Swedish. Yeah, okay, Germanic. No, he's asking if could this be an NPE or an adoption? No, Ancestry, I think, will tell you that their ethnicity estimates, if you read the fine print, could be going back 500 to 700 years. And so it's not within it. It's definitely not assuredly, but within 3 or 4 generations at all. So it could be 500 years ago that grandpa was Swedish. So I don't think that you may be able to figure that out through some research. But I wouldn't suspect an NPE at all. No.
Which, for those maybe not in the know, NPE, non-paternity event.
Right. It'd be where your father that you thought was your father is not your biological father. Or somebody's father.
Right.
In the family. All right, let's circle back. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, there's a lot of things here. Yeah, and Matt comes back and says he was thinking Vikings. Yes, and that's what I was thinking too, is Vikings. That'd be about 1,000 years ago. And it definitely did influence a lot of people in Europe. A lot of us have that tiny, you know, 5 to 10% Scandinavian, even when we don't have any Scandinavian that we know of in our tree. And I think it is the Viking influence. And that's what a number of people would say it is. So, I mean, it's unknown, but that's a very good supposition.
So many. There's such a wide variety of types of questions going on here.
Yeah, I know. I was
Yeah,
trying to
we're trying to group them
and
together.
I'm like, no. Okay, let me just go to the top and start. Let's go to the top and start with the
Yes.
people at the top.
Great. Let's do it.
Okay, Janine. I haven't found the connections I'm looking for at Ancestry or MyHeritage. Should I take 23andMe for a better chance? Yes, you don't say what you're looking for, but if you are looking for an adoption or, you know, something like that, where you've got an unknown family member that you're searching for, definitely get your DNA in all 4 of the testing sites. So do 23andMe, do Family Tree DNA. Okay, Katrina, I took several tests and none of the people listed, I have no clue who they are. Okay. So,
she said that the people who she's matching with DNA wise, they're like, it's being suggested that they're cousins. She's like, I have no idea who they are. I was told by mom everyone was an only child.
Okay, well, it depends on, you know, if they're, we need to really know the centimorgans or, so, you know, if they're like 900 centimorgans, then that would be somebody who is definitely a close enough match with you to be a first cousin. If they're only like 200 centimorgans, then they're like a second or a third cousin. And so they'd be descended from maybe your second great grandparents or your first great grandparents, something like that. So they could be legitimate relatives, you know, that are just further back in time. So we kind of need to know like how close these relatives are that you're seeing on your match list that you can't identify.
Send us an email.
Yeah, I would say send us an email. Now there's always, you know, all of your male, I don't want to get too, you know, graphic here, but all of your male ancestors could have fathered a child with somebody else that they didn't know about and that you didn't know about. And so whenever you got somebody new showing up on your match list, that's a close match, you got to wonder, you know, did dad or grandpa or an uncle have a child that you didn't know about? But that would be a real close match that you would come up with that would be unknown to you.
As someone points out in the chat, DNA reveals family secrets.
Oh, it does.
It doesn't lie.
It sure does. Okay, so Thomas is taking us into the big why. Okay. So the big why, this is a completely different kind of test than what we've been talking about. We've been talking about autosomal DNA, which is anybody can take that test. It's for men and women, and it's looking at both of your parents. The big why is a test at family tree DNA. It's for men only, and it's looking only at their male paternal line. So Thomas is asking about that test, and he's asking about the big why. The big why is supposed to be able to trace your paternal ancestry back 400 or 500 years, basically. And if you have good matches, and so basically the big Y is the highest level of testing you can get done for this Y chromosome testing. It's pretty new, and so they're still working on it and developing it. But basically, if you have good matches, it can help you pinpoint within 50 or 100 years what level of relationship your connection might be at. Like, were you connected in 300 years ago or 400 years ago? It might be able to tell you that. And so that would give you an idea of what generation to start looking at for the connection. If you don't have any matches at the big Y, then it's not going to tell you much of anything. So you've got to start recruiting people and trying to get other people to test so you can have some matches. That's the key point with the big Y, is if you don't have matches, it's not really helpful to you. So you want to drum up matches. But if you do have matches, it can be very useful. And a lot of people are using it. There are a lot of surname projects that are doing a lot of in-depth study of their big Y results. The Vance surname is one of those. If you kind of Google the Vance DNA project or the Beatty DNA project, I know John Beatty, one of our librarians here, is involved in that. The Vic DNA project.
Hodge.
All of those are doing a lot of advanced work with their big Y, that the people in the group are working together kind of to look at their big Y results and try to really trace out everybody with that surname. So yeah, there are some that are really active and people that are really working on this. And then others, like I said, if you don't have any matches, it's not going to help you that much at this point in time, but you can always hope for more matches. Okay.
Dad's test.
Diana is talking back on centimorgans. Okay, my grandparents were second cousins to each other, it sounds like. So how will that impact the number of shared centimorgans for me and my relatives? I don't think it would bump them up that much. It might bump them up slightly, but it's not going to be obscenely, like, if your grandparents were first cousins to each other, that would make a difference, I think, in some of your numbers. But second cousins is not, I haven't seen that it really bumps up your numbers that much. So I wouldn't be too, unless you had a match that you're questioning. And you could certainly send us an email about that, but no, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay.
Quick question.
Mhm.
944 centimorgans. I'm asking this because I see you still have DNA painter on your screen.
Mhm.
Could that be a half sibling? 944.
No, it can be a child of your half sibling. So a child of your half sibling would be your half niece or nephew.
Cool.
Okay, let's see. Mary just gives an example of something at MyHeritage that was quirky for her, so I don't think she really has a question. If you uploaded your ancestry DNA to Family Tree, no. So here's a misconception. So Joan asks, if you upload your ancestry DNA to Family Tree DNA and MyHeritage, shouldn't they be close? If you're asking, would the ethnicity be close? No, because when you upload that raw DNA file to that other company, they run it through their system then. So Ancestry has a system for determining what they think your ethnicity estimate would be. MyHeritage has a different system. It's probably similar. They probably have certain, things that they are both doing. They're both proprietary, meaning that they don't tell us exactly how they calculate this because they're trying to, that's one of their trade secrets basically for their company. They give us a general idea if you read the white papers or the FAQs on their website. But yeah, so you're downloading your DNA file from Ancestry, which is basically just the copy of your DNA from your spit when you send it in. And then MyHeritage is just running it through their processes. And so they're going to calculate your DNA ethnicity estimate according to how they do it at their site. So it'll be different.
And also, does each company have their own reference population?
They do, yeah. So different groups that they're comparing you to. Yep. Pamela says, what company would be best for finding African ancestors? If you are African American, which I cannot, I don't know from what you posted, or, African who now lives in Great Britain, something like that. I think most of the people that are from an African American background or an African background are testing at Ancestry. That's not to say that, your best match might not be at MyHeritage or at Family Tree DNA, but I would say just in general, my knowledge of it is that most of my African American people that I've tried to help, they get their best matches at Ancestry. Okay, Katrina says something about her birth certificate does not have a name on it. Well, yeah, Katrina, I would still write to us. I think we already suggested that you write to us about your ethnicity or about your match list.
Our email is genealogy@acpl.info. I just typed a response to her question about what our email is, but I'm going to put it in the chat again.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to show this website anyways. So Julie has got a great question here. Julie says, I have an illegitimate grandmother and 2 illegitimate great-grandmothers, meaning that they don't know who their fathers were. Is there a way to start sorting this out using DNA matches? Yes, there is. And I'm going to pull up this website that I wanted to show you.
While you're doing that, I see that we have about 10 minutes left. If we run out of time, we are always happy to answer your questions. So please send us an email if we run out of time. And also, if you'd like a copy of the chat, send us an email.
Okay, so I've got this website up. It's called danaleads.com. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So she has come up with a method of sorting out your DNA matches. This works really well for people that are adopted, that are looking for one parent. Maybe they know the other parent. are looking for one grandparent. Maybe they know the other 3 grandparents, something like that. So I think this would help Julie, although she's talking about her great grandparents. I think it would still help her. So Dana Leeds method is basically for sorting out your matches, even if you don't know what family they might come from. So, and over here on the side, oops, that wasn't what I meant to do. Back up. Okay, right over here at the top right, it says the Leeds method. This is where you want to go. And you want to follow her directions on how to do the Leeds method with your matches. And she's got a whole like page with illustrations and very detailed instructions. She will tell you to go start with the matches that you match with at 400 centimorgans and go down from there to 90 centimorgans. For Julie, who is trying to find a great grandparent and a great great grandparent, you're going to want to go down probably to 25 centimorgans. So you're going to go a lot further down than what Dana recommends, but this is going to help you separate out your matches into different match groups of people that are related to each other. And then you're going to be able to eliminate the ones that are for the relatives that you already know. Like, you know, grandma's mother, but you don't know grandma's father. So you eliminate out the side of the matches that are from grandma's mother's side and so forth. So read through this Leeds method and just see whether you can figure that out. And it might take some practice, and it's basically making a spreadsheet for your DNA matches and grouping them and working with them that way.
Cool.
But that's what I would suggest for Julie. Okay, let's see.
Oh, I see one that I kind of want to know the answer to.
Okay, which one is that?
So Matthew asked, should I go straight to the big Y after taking my initial STR67 test?
Yes, I would say do that, because the big Y is the one that would make the most sense if you can afford it. I mean, it's a little pricey, and so some people go up step by step incrementally because they don't have enough money to get up to the big Y right away. So they just kind of do it little steps where they save up some money. But yeah, if you can afford to go up to the big Y, I mean, like, I just ordered the big Y for my brother. I didn't, get a 37 marker and then upgrade it. Then my brother refused to take it, but that's a whole other situation. But I bought the big Y and I was hoping that he would. So yeah, if you can afford it, I would just go with, upgrading to the big Y. Let's see. Melinda is asking a real detailed question about her finding an unknown father, and I would say email us about that. Julie is saying that she didn't match with her cousins, and so she asked her brothers to take the test, and her brothers did match the cousins. So yes, you share 1900 centimorgans with one brother and 1780 with the other. And those are both, if we go back to DNA Painter, that's both within the half sibling range. And so it sounds like if both brothers match your cousins on your dad's side, that they are your father's sons, but you aren't your father's daughter, unfortunately, biologically speaking. Yeah. If you want help with trying to figure that out, Julie, be sure to send us an email and I can try to help. Okay, Carolyn says, I think I understand what Carolyn's saying. My cousin shares 3,400 centimorgans with his own father, but he only shares 1,900 with his father's daughter. Huh. He shows as the father, she shows as a close relative. It almost sounds like the fathers, if they don't share the same mother, if the cousin and this sister don't share the same mother, then they're only half siblings, is kind of what it's sounding like to me. But definitely send us an email about that if you want more clarification. We can try to look into it a little more. Okay, Carol says, do you find the family trees on 23andMe useful? So the family trees on 23andMe, I can't show you my tree on 23andMe because it's going to give you the names of my matches and I don't have them blacked out. And so it's unethical for me to show their names basically on this thing tonight. I don't have their permission. So I wish I could show you the tree on 23andMe, but there's a tree on 23andMe and it is basically a speculative tree. So if I go back over here to 23andMe and go under, it's listed here under research, no, it's listed under family and friends. And it says family tree right here. This is not a tree that I have posted onto 23andMe. It's a tree that 23andMe kind of constructed out of looking at my matches. And they put people into where they thought that the people might fit on my tree. So they were able to divide my matches into parent 1 and parent 2, basically. And so they should kind of show you that these matches over here are related to one of your parents and these matches are related to the other, but they don't know for sure which parent is which unless you tell 23andMe which parent is which, or your parents have tested at 23andMe.
Yeah, there's some people in the chat saying that they either don't rely on it or they found it to be kind of inaccurate.
Yeah, so I wouldn't take it as the gospel truth. It's just kind of a speculative tree that 23andMe has put together. I sometimes use it to kind of get an idea of what might be going on, but then I double and triple check and try to figure it out a different way by looking up, trying to construct an actual family tree for these people, which you can do sometimes.
Okay. So we have 2 minutes left. Let's do one final question. If you guys have more questions, definitely send us an email. If you would like a copy of the chat, please send us an email. That's the moral of the story for all of our programs. Email us. We want to help you in any way we can.
Robin kind of has a complicated question about xDNA and an unknown parent of somebody. So I'm thinking that's a send us an email question because it sounds complicated. Rebecca says, how accurate is the haplogroup testing at 23andMe? So let's end on that one. The haplogroup testing at 23andMe, let me see if I can get over there to that real quick. I think it's at this ancestry and traits overview. Okay, so this is like the main page of my, okay. So it does give you a maternal haplogroup and a paternal haplogroup at 23andMe. Now, I'm not male, so I can't really have a paternal haplogroup. So that confuses people, but it can give you an overview of what your maternal haplogroup would be for males and females. So it's telling me that it's J1C2. They're not doing really in-depth testing of your haplogroups. So if you wanted the in-depth testing, you'd have to go over to Family Tree DNA and get the mitochondrial DNA test. That will tell you in depth what your maternal haplogroup is and if you have matches to other people with the same mitochondrial DNA, which is your mother's line. So it will be slightly, your results at Family Tree DNA for the mitochondrial DNA test are going to be slightly different than this, because this is more of a upper level viewpoint, and then the Family Tree DNA is the more detailed look at your maternal haplogroup. So it's a specialty test. Now let me go back out and see if they might be telling me my paternal haplogroup because my father actually took the 23andMe test. I think that's why. So my father's on 23andMe and he's linked to me as my father. And so I think basically they're showing me my father's paternal haplogroup, but basically as a woman, I shouldn't have a paternal haplogroup. But again, I would test at the Y chromosome test at Family Tree DNA if you wanted to get paternal matches. for the Y chromosome for a male.
Great. So we are just about out of time. Thank you, Sarah,
Okay.
for such a fast and furious hour of
Well, we
questions.
managed it, I think.
We did a good job, I think. Y'all could agree or disagree.
Yeah, we will.
Oh God. But really, if any of you have, more questions, please send us an email. Our email is genealogy@acpl.info. And again, if you would like a copy of the chat, also send us an email for that as well. All right. Well, I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you again for tuning in.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.